Welcome to the Bitcoin Business Podcast put on by Sovereign. I'm your host, Brandon Karpeles. Today I have with me Patrick from Great Ghee. He obviously makes great ghee, and we will get into that. But Patrick, you were starting to tell me a story before we started recording, and I put it on pause.
Mhm.
So, all right, let's get into the story. No long rambling intro here today.
I
Just
love it.
right to the story. Go for it. Welcome,
Yeah,
Patrick. Thank you.
so Reiki is not my first venture. I've tried a lot of things in the past. And so what I was about to tell you, Brandon, is that in 2024, I was in Nashville at the Nashville conference, and I was hanging out and rolling with a bunch of the Bitcoin veterans at the time. And well, I still am. Like, they're still really cool. I'm not a
Yeah,
veteran, but I'm friends with
yeah.
average Gary.
No stolen valor.
Stolen
Yeah.
Valley.
Okay.
Gary,
All right.
Gary knows everybody.
Don't.
So
Yeah. Don't come at us, Gary.
yeah, yeah.
Please.
And so at the time, I had a product that I was selling. It was called Propolis Honey, and it was propolis infused honey. Propolis is like this awesome uh, kind of product that bees make that's really good against preventing flus and even preventing cancers and stuff like that. And so I had the idea of selling this propolis honey. I was selling it online a little bit, actually on Nostr at one point. And and Brandon, you had showed up to the BV. I don't know why I remember meeting you, but
Yeah.
you're like, I'm Plebby Anon. And I was like, oh, that's sick. And so we met and
Yeah.
stuff. I don't. You probably don't remember me, but I
Yeah.
remember you. I don't necessarily.
No, I do actually. Now that you mention, I 100% do. I remember I was down there with you, with
Yep.
Gary, and with Ham for BTC
Yep.
Radio,
Mhm.
and I won't
Mhm.
dox him. And Demi was down
Yep.
there, good Chicago Bitcoiner. So yeah, that was a great time. Absolutely remember it, and yeah, that was that was an interesting conference. That was sort of in my opinion, that was kind of like the beginning of the suit coining sort of transition to a very different class of people. They had all the crazy security and everything, and it was just a completely different world than the past conferences. So
Yeah. It was my first Bitcoin conference, so it's kind of a crazy
okay,
first experience. And a lot of people online kind of poo poo the big US conferences that are held by like Bitcoin magazine and stuff. And I get that, but I think the scenarios for a lot of people aren't rolling with the right crowds when they go to these conferences and they aren't checking out the outskirts. And I just had the most fun time ever hanging out with the BV guys and then hanging out with all the other people that they're connected with, being on the outskirts, meeting guys like you and so many other people that I kind of interact with on Nostr and such. It was so much fun. Yeah, the whole security situation and a bunch of these other kind of like maybe ship coins that are there doing their things. That's all flashy, but for me, it was amazing. And I did see that transition taking place and stuff. And then they announced Vegas and that whole ordeal and everything. But I'm I'll take the unpopular opinion. I think there's still so much fun though, like hang out with them.
no, well, so listen, both can
Mm-hmm.
be true. We had the conversion to sort of suit coin or very different field conferences, but you're also 100% correct that the reason you go to the conferences is to be around other Bitcoiners and to get with good groups of people. I mean, the open source stage, notoriously. I mean, there's so much signal over there. Last year in Vegas, they had the Nostr Lounge. I mean, I spent probably what precious few free seconds I had, I pretty much spent over there. I really didn't catch any of the actual presentations until kind of like the last half of the last day when I finally got a chance to breathe and stuff. But yeah, all the free time was spent. I spent it meeting other members of the Sovereign team and uh, going to meet a lot of our partners in person, and then just being around awesome people. And my family was there too. And I mean, obviously, there's a ton to do in Vegas, and I mean, even you don't have to be like a degenerate gambler to enjoy
Right.
Vegas
Yeah.
either. I also used to sort of semi-professionally play a lot of poker as well. So it was fun to get a few hours in at the table, go back to my younger days and reminisce on all that. So yeah, there's tons of great
Yeah.
stuff to do. Like yes, you have the suit coiners, you have the degeneracy of Las Vegas, but like almost every situation, it's what you make
Mhm.
out of it. It's what you want to choose to expose yourself to, and how you take advantage of the opportunity of being around so many great
Right.
people.
No, it makes so much sense. And yeah, especially going as a business, I think it's a lot of cool. It's really cool to be able to meet a lot of your customers and partners, employees, if everyone's working from home and stuff. You get that different aspect, especially as looking at it from a networking event. When I went in 2024, I was viewing it as a networking event, mainly just because I'm a pretty young guy and haven't done much in my life or in my professional life and everything. So being able to meet guys that are older that are doing a lot of things in the space that I can literally like look up to, learn from, is super valuable for me. So I'm excited to go to more events in the future. I kind of had this little thing of like, I don't, if I have to fly to it for a Bitcoin event, I don't really want to do it. I like doing the local stuff. So I don't know when I'll be at another Bitcoin conference yet. I'm toying around with going to the BV summit in Nashville, but I'm not sure about that yet either. So yeah.
Well, I mean, to that end, that's another super cool thing about going to these conferences is just the expansion of all the businesses being built in
Right.
Bitcoin and like what people are actually doing and finding those little gems and those nuggets and even just getting to meet like the crypto cloaks guys
Yeah.
who I have a bunch of their stuff all around my house and I was looking for some on my desk, but I think it's all in the living room. But like just meeting those guys, talking with them, and I gave them a business idea for a cigar ashtray that they made, and like they're like, all right, well we'll have it done by the end
Right.
of the year, and so I mean just yeah, just cool experiences like that to be around everyone, and it's much more about the atmosphere and the vibe than and in line with the whole point of this podcast to see all the businesses in the Bitcoin space. Like, hey, we're on a Bitcoin standard. Hey, we're making products for the Bitcoin space or Bitcoin adjacent, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see what all these Bitcoiners are building. And I was actually listening to a podcast with Luke Groman on it before we hopped on here, and he was talking about like, well, they're going to inflate the dollar into Bitcoin, and then all the people are going to complain that all the Bitcoiners are super wealthy, and it's like, well, they're the ones who are going to build
Yeah.
everything. So like everyone else's life is just going to
Mhm.
get better. They're the productive people of society. Like you should be cheering it on because it's so true. Like you look around at every Bitcoiner is trying to find a way to produce value in some way, shape, or form. And like that ethos is exactly what I'm guessing spawned you to start Great Ghee. And so, why don't you talk a little bit about how maybe some of your other adventures, why you decided to focus on Great Ghee and how you got here?
Yeah. It's a little bit of a long story, but I guess that's why we're in a podcast.
No, go. Well, we got plenty of time here. So,
Exactly. So ever since graduating college, which was only about several years ago, about I graduated in 2021, and which was a fun time to graduate. At that point, I was getting into
oh,
Bitcoin and
yeah.
everything, and I had learned pretty quickly on that I wanted to be entrepreneurial to a certain extent, but I like really earning a paycheck, and I kind of like the golden handcuffs of that, especially getting married relatively young as well, having a family and such. I've always been trying out side hustles, and so back in 2022, I was buying iPhones and Apple Watches in a major city that I used to live in. From people on like Facebook Marketplace and some of these other apps, and then I would flip them on eBay, and then I would just basically be converting my profits into Bitcoin there. Then, when we moved more into the Shenandoah Valley, that's when I was interacting with some awesome honey producers local in the area and learned about propolis and figured, hey, why don't I try connecting with these producers, making the propolis honey, tried that, realized it was pretty niche. It was really hard explaining to people what propolis actually was, and there wasn't a whole lot of demand for that. So
And it's hard to
yeah,
say.
yeah. And
So
so I was able
yeah.
to kind of learn from that, ramp that down. And then about 6 months ago, Laser on Nostr. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Uh,
Sure.
he's a pretty awesome follow on Nostr and Twitter.
Yeah. I love following Laser, and I agree with him on like
Yeah.
98% of what he talks about. But his sugar takes, I just can't, I can't deal with them.
We could get
But
into that. We could get
I
into
still love
pizza
you.
and repeat and stuff like that.
Yeah, I still love
Yeah.
you, Laser. But there is, I mean, firsthand, I have lived it. Sugar does not make me feel good, and severely hampers my health when I
No,
have it.
yeah.
So,
All good.
but
All
anyways,
good there.
yeah,
We're all the repeat guy, the petards and the carnidorks could get along no problem.
yeah.
That's the whole. Yeah, we're both idiots.
Oh yeah, it's like gold. Yeah, it's like gold bugs and
Exactly.
Bitcoiners.
Yeah.
Like we all,
Yeah.
yeah, we all hate the established
Exactly.
system.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
all hate the traditional food
yeah,
system. We're just attacking it from different
yes,
angles. But yeah.
exactly.
So kind of along the Ray Pete, the Pete Stir thread. Uh, Laser was talking about getting milk, but actually skimming off the cream line that comes at the top of the milk, and then using that and converting it into butter. And that kind of caused the light bulb to go off in my head, because we go through 4 gallons of raw milk a week. My family, we go through a lot of milk, and I was putting on the pounds, drinking all this full fat milk, this A2
Yeah,
like the good stuff, grown
yeah.
at a farm 20 minutes from me. And
Well, and all the
oh
lactose
yeah,
too.
oh
And
yeah.
you know,
And I mean, it's
yeah,
amazing for you, but still, I mean, calories in, calories out counts
yes.
for something. And so,
Listen,
you know,
I've watched my son balloon over the last 7 months just
yeah,
drinking milk.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
it's meant
you
to
can put
bulk
on
you.
weight. You can put on weight drinking
Yeah,
full fat milk, And so I was like, oh, this is a great idea, because we had been making ghee just from Costco butter for a while. I'm like, oh, I could skim the milk, turn that into butter, and then turn that into ghee. And so we started doing that. And then early on, I realized, I'm like, I'm going to be making too much butter and too much ghee for us to eat. I'm going to be storing it up. And then I was like, wait a minute. I see these guys like Soap Miner and Oshi and all these other guys, which I had been following for a while, selling this stuff on Nostr. Why don't I try selling this ghee on Nostr? And I immediately went to domain names that were available. And sure enough, greatghee.com was available. I was really surprised, because, in my
yeah.
opinion, it's an awesome domain name. And
No, it
yeah,
is. And it's alliteration, and at this point, like any domain name being available seems
totally,
insane. So
totally. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
domain names are still lame. They're not as good as Bitcoin. I'm not some hoarder of like domain names and this and that. But so
you're
I
not doing the sailor strategy.
yes.
So
And I
yeah,
just kind of pounced on that and kind of hit the ground running. And I had taken what I had learned from my previous ventures. I've been constantly learning from the guys that are already on Nostr. I can't shout out Oshi, Ben Justman, Leatherman, Soap Miner, the people that I'm forgetting. Like, I've just been learning from them pretty much since May, which is when I started this. And I've just kind of been,
sounds like
now.
you just went through a chronological list of our
Yeah,
episodes.
yeah.
So
I did my homework. I listened to
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and so from there, it's been such an awesome learning experience, just working on the business aspect of things, which I love. I just love business in general. I before I kind of learned how fiat education was, I got my MBA, and I think it serves some value, but a lot of it I'm actually learning just through experiences like this. And the nutritional aspect, I'm really into health and fitness, and ghee, and the whole concept of like PUFAs and linoleic acid and some of these other concepts of like weight management, weight gain, metabolism, things like that. And then also the local aspect has been so much fun. I've posted about this a couple of times, but local farmers are some of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your entire life. It's unbelievable how nice they are. I literally just shook hands with one this morning, picking up a bunch of just input resources that go into the Ghee. And I was talking with him for like 10 minutes, and they're just the most down to earth, like precious in the sense that we cannot lose these farmers. We cannot lose those types of people that are in America. I could just go on and on about how down to earth they are. And so those three aspects, the business aspect, oh, and then the Bitcoin aspect, obviously, as well. Doing this on Nostr has been a lot of fun learning. You can kind of just test and prod with Nostr, like the whole like with software development, if you just want to run quick with things, you test and prod. That's basically what I've been doing, learning from a bunch of mistakes that I've been making along the way, like with labeling or with formulations or with advertising and marketing and things like that. You can just do that all in Nostr without any permission, without any sort of hoops or whatever you have to jump through. And it also helps, though, that when I was starting out, we kind of have a little like business community within Nostr, I guess you could say. Like, yeah,
100%. Yeah.
and just the guys that are on there that I mentioned previously were so welcoming and opening and willing to help me, and willing to answer my stupid questions that I have about whatever. And it's just like I'm so grateful for that. And so that's one thing that I want to help. I mean, I've only been in this for like less than half a year, so I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to know what I'm doing in like a year and a half. But because of how they have helped me, I'm immediately going to want to pay it forward for other people that want to start out. And I've had DMs and people talk with me in person. They're like, "Oh, you're doing great, Ghee. I want to try doing this thing or that thing." I'm like, "Go for it. You literally just need to start. You just need to jump in, make mistakes, learn from your mistakes quickly, and iterate through that cycle over and over again as fast as you can." Because, uh, and sorry, I'm going on a little tangent here, but I don't know who mentioned this. I wish I could quote him or her that said this, but when we're operating on this Bitcoin standard, I'm going to make the most profit in Bitcoin right now. And in a year from,
That was
I'm not going
Ben.
to be able to make the
Yeah.
same amount of profit in Bitcoin. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
make it more in the nominal terms or in the dollar terms, but not in the Bitcoin terms,
Fiat term. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Crazy concept to think
Yeah.
about. So because of that, you need to move quick and you need to get product out quick. You need to be doing volume quick, because if you don't, you're just going to be leaving sats on the table. That's not an excuse to be kind of lame with your QA or to be putting out a junk product, but there's just kind of a sense of urgency here with, especially if you're kind of young and you didn't have like wealth beforehand to be able to get into Bitcoin, and you're like earning the Bitcoin now, which is what I'm kind of in. There's a huge sense of urgency that one of my hot takes will be like, not enough people have that sense of urgency, even on Nostr, on Bitcoin, Twitter, etc.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. Even at Sovereign, we're in the same thing. It's, like we started in November, and really, the actual sort of business that's being run today at Sovereign really started like, end of May, beginning of June. In reality, we're basically 60 to 90 days like into the current iteration, and getting customers in the door and helping people and all that. And to your point, it's like, yes, we have this low time preference approach. We're not going to do anything stupid. We're not going to, I joke, I say the number one rule of Sovereign is just like Fight Club is the same as the number two and number three rule is no shit coining. And like, that's basically it. But along with that, there's all sorts of other pitfalls along the way where you could maybe cut some corners, or, hey, we had someone ask us to help them go do the Bitcoin treasury strategy. We actually advised them against it. And it's like, these are all things that, like, to your point, yes, we need to start getting money in now, because like Bitcoin is just going to get farther and farther away
Mm-hmm.
from us. And it's hard. It is a hard balance. An interesting point you bring up, actually, you're the first person to talk about this, is like that you have to really have a good balance of making sure your product is quality, that you're putting out good stuff, but begin stacking, as hard as you can now, because it just gets harder later. I mean, I in my personal life, I remember in 22 when we basically, I looked at my wife and I was like, Bitcoin was under 20K, and I just said, we're never going to get an opportunity like this again. This is, it's like, we got to go, we're 50% in, we got to go, 95% in, like, now. And fortunately, God bless my wife. She's a ride or die, as Matt Odell would say. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And, like to that point, it's like, you got to start stacking so hard now because everything's going to run away from you in the future. And it's just going to get more and more difficult. And you've basically, if you're in Bitcoin right now, you've basically been given a gift from God that like 99% of the world hasn't, received their gift yet. It's and figuring out how to get to market and how to start stacking those sats ASAP is yeah, it's quite a balance. I never really thought of it like that.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I that's good insight.
And yeah, personal life and business life, I mean, I kind of joke that like I don't really call Gracie a business. It's more of like a side hustle right now. It's like an experiment that I'm working on. It's the best experiment I have so far. But it is interesting how the concepts align. And yeah, people just mess around too much with stuff that doesn't really matter at the end of the day. And I a prediction of mine is that a lot of the people, like I'm class of late 2020, so I'm pretty late. And I know a lot of people that I interact with are like class of 2017, 18, 19 and stuff, but I think people 2017 and after, a lot of people are going to have regrets like come 2028, 2030 time when we're probably going to be seven figures plus by that point. People are going to have regrets that they messed around too much. Even like, I'm not talking about with like stuff besides Bitcoin, but just with not growing their conviction as much as they should have. And it's like you got the education in front of you, you got the crowd around you. Like a lot of people, I just think still are not all the way there. Like even like going on a Bitcoin standard with products like Strike. I could go on and on about the Strike bill pay, the direct deposit, things like that. The whole KYC issue aside, it is so easy to live on a Bitcoin standard. We've been doing it for over 9 months now. It's like I have zero regrets. You do the math, and it works so well. But I'll interact with people. They won't be on a Bitcoin standard, but they'll be talking about leveraging their Bitcoin and getting loans backed by Bitcoin. And I'm like, hold on, you don't have your priorities straight. You still have fiat, but you're trying to get loans backed by your Bitcoin. Like that's not how the steps on the ladder work. Like you need to go zero fiat. That'll rock your world to a certain extent, and then you can think about leveraging your Bitcoin in the future, which just like kind of principles wise, I would never actually recommend somebody do, even though right now maybe the math works out with capital gains and this and that. But yeah, it's the conviction needs to grow, even with people that are on Nostr. I might be I'm a relatively critical person in general and stuff, but I just want to hold people to a higher standard. And like you said, this is a gift from God that no time in history have we had an opportunity like this before. And we just need to be reminded of that constantly. And so partly on that same thread, these whole entrepreneurial endeavors have literally just been boiled down to I need to get more Bitcoin. And I work a W-2 that's not commission based. So like no matter how hard I work, I can maybe get like a tiny bonus at the end of the year. But other than that, no matter how hard I work, I'm still getting the same paycheck. And I have capacity right now just with my free time and with my family and this and that to be able to put focus on other things. And instead of like goofing off and monkeying around and doing whatever, I'm like, I got to figure out some ways to stack more Bitcoin. And on top of that, scratch the itch of being able to run a business and everything, which is why I get into this whole hustle and business of Gracie as well. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was in the same thing. I had a W-2, and yeah, I got a bonus at the end of the year, but I mean, it was within like I could have the best year of my life, and I would maybe get 2% more on my
Yep.
bonus. It was pegged to a percentage of my salary, and it was
Yeah.
like, and then at the end, I was actually I was going the wrong direction, and I was like, inflation's going up, and I'm getting less money. I'm like, this doesn't seem to be footing out, but okay. Um, and and I like it, I now, so that's, I mean, that is kind of why I looked at Sovereign. I was like, oh, I can do some consulting work on the side, which is initially how I started here. It was like, okay, I'm available for some billable hours. To your
Yep.
point, I just want to start stacking some more
Yep.
sats, doing something related to Bitcoin. And next thing you know, I walked away from my Fiat job and stacking significantly less sats now. But it's it's a worthwhile endeavor, and I do believe in what we're doing here. And again, back to the low time preference. I am definitely not stacking as many sats today as I could be, but hopefully we're building something that lasts into the future and ultimately will provide the ability to stack more sats than I ever could have,
100%.
you know, as a desk monkey.
Yeah.
So
On that same thread, I forgot to mention this earlier with my various endeavors. Another thing I tried was actually it was Bitcoin consulting, but I was taking it from the approach of actually reaching out to churches and mission organizations. I'm a born again Christian. I have been for since I was 18, and
same here.
awesome.
Yeah,
And I
not so, actually much earlier than
Oh,
18.
sweet.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I I quickly kind of well, actually, with a lot of what Strike is doing with their kind of transfer of dollars between countries, but using Bitcoin as the rails for that, it clicked with me that all of these missions organizations and churches that are supporting missionaries overseas are using the most decrepit fee driven rails for transferring fiat ever, and Bitcoin is literally the solution to it. It's kind of unbelievable how much Bitcoin can save you with time and with money, and even to a certain extent security, and I can talk about that in a second. And so for a while I had set up uh a not a front page site, but several other things, and I had cold emailed about 500 churches, just with like, hey, uh, I have a Bitcoin company. I can really help you out with the way that you're supporting missions organizations, uh, or missions work and supporting them, and I can consult with you guys and to be able to get this set up to both save a bunch of fees, a bunch of money. You know how many of them reached back out to me? Zero.
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 Yeah, I don't. We we want to be helping churches as
Excellent.
well. I know a couple. Actually, one of the guys is pretty is Nostr only. Him and his wife are actually working on doing a nonprofit to help do Bitcoin adoption in churches. They're down in the Nashville area as well. So that's definitely on our list, and things we want to get to. I go to kind of a larger church here in Chicago, and so I pray about it a lot. Like, how and when do I make the move to approach the CFO and be like, hey, have you heard the good news? And start talking to him about Bitcoin. But that is absolutely an area we want to focus on as well, and even beyond churches. We had, it's funny you mentioned that story. We have a program at our church where we basically go into these remote communities, countries, and we bring dollars, and we go in with dollars, and it's like, hey, here's these dollars to help you kickstart your economy, or so you have a currency to trade with, and you can quote unquote hold your value because you're not getting destroyed by whatever local currency, and what, pick your Southeast Asian company. And I'm just sitting there and just like, oh my gosh, like Bitcoin is the perfect solution to this.
Mhm.
Like, you can send it digitally, it actually stores its value. And I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, this is the exact use case for Bitcoin. So
Yeah, it's tough. I joke that of all of the different entities and organizations out there, churches are going to be the very last to adopt Bitcoin, because unfortunately the culture that is within them, with whatever church denomination that you kind of want to refer to, the focus on money and fiat currency and the debasement of the dollar is just, even though it's focused on a fair bit in the Bible. It's not touched on within the church and from the pulpit, and it's relatively frustrating. And I've kind of gone to my elder group within my church about Bitcoin and everything, and they're like, yeah. One of them is like, oh, I think I have some Cardano or something. I'm like, oh my gosh. And but it's just kind of brushed aside, and I'm not trying to be like an annoying orange pillar with them, and it,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
kind of get it at the
Yeah.
price you deserve, even if it's churches, and
Mm.
so it's like I'll be kind
Yeah.
of ready to welcome them in with open arms and help them when they're ready. But for a lot of people, like, how you can't force somebody to be a Christian. Oftentimes, you can't force somebody to be a Bitcoiner either. They got to come to it in their own way, however that may be. But even
They've, they've got to hit
yeah,
Fiat rock
yeah,
bottom. Yeah.
and like the craziest thing with missions for people that are listening and they're like, I have no idea what any of this stuff is about. Like, one example is that uh, one organization contacted another of for people that I know, and they needed people speaking this language to go into this country, which is a relative active war zone, to be able to bring money to missionaries that were in that area. And so what they had to do was this guy and two others had to fly with a bunch of cash from the United States into one country and then drive from in that country into another and cross multiple borders with cash, like in duffel bags, delivering it to these missionaries. And I'm like,
Yep. Happens all the time.
oh my gosh. And it's
Yeah.
just like, wow, Bitcoin fixes this on like five different levels. It's
Yep.
unbelievable. And so as soon and part of it is that I think once once one organization starts doing it that's credible, or once one church starts doing it that's credible, I think then there will be a tidal wave that starts adopting. But like with MicroStrategy and these Bitcoin companies, you need one group to put their neck out on the line for this and to set the example for
Yeah.
all of the others to come in. And
Hey, Dave Ramsey, if you're listening to this, get your act
oh
together,
man,
man.
Dave Ramsey, man. It's yeah,
Uh,
we could talk so much about him. I don't know if you've heard of Adam Livingston. He's kind of a new guy on the space.
I don't think
And
I don't think I
yeah,
have.
yeah.
Is he like Ramsey's protege or
No, no,
something?
no. But Adam, he talks a lot about
Okay.
Bitcoin treasury stuff, and he's a very like kind of bombastic character on YouTube and Twitter and stuff. But he'll
Okay.
sometimes make these.
Oh, he's a
Yeah, oh yeah,
Bitcoiner.
he's a
Okay.
big owner. He's a big
Yeah.
owner. Yeah, you
Oh, okay.
you look him
Okay.
up, you've probably
I
seen
got you.
him. But he made
Okay.
one video on like Dave Ramsey and basically like talking about Dave Ramsey and what he proposes and Bitcoin. It's one of the funniest like 15 20 minutes you'll ever watch. It's hilarious. He's a really funny guy. But yeah, same thing with Dave Ramsey. It's ridiculous. And he's kind of preaching the whole kind of Christian thing, but then at the same time it's like, oh yeah, store your money in dollars and save for your
Or
years development.
buy bonds. Yeah, buy bonds. Make sure you fund the murdering of like all of these other
Yeah,
people and this ridiculous system that Jesus literally threw the table over of the money
yeah.
changers. Like, make sure you lend money to that system by buying their bonds. And it's
It's
like,
it's
oh
pretty
my gosh.
unbelievable. But now it's, if you actually ever go and look at certain like clips of Dave Ramsey talking about Bitcoin and you scroll to the comments, they're great because everyone's kind of roasting them now for it because Bitcoin has outperformed every single thing that he's proposed,
Yeah,
and it's just going to
yeah,
continue that way. So yeah, it's so yeah, that's kind of one of the other fun things that hopefully you guys will be able to kind of get into to more, to be able to find those churches that are out there and everything that are can kind of see the writing on the wall and
yeah.
start saving in Bitcoin, even building a Bitcoin balance sheet and using it as a tool, using it as a money, using it for tithes, using it for so many other things that it can just be great for. It's something that's needed for sure.
I mean, especially in my former background, I handled distress companies, and lots of times we would have churches, synagogues, places of worship across all sorts of religions, and every time that like there was a problem, it's like, well, giving was down this year. Oh, donations were down this year. It's like, well, imagine if you had stored your donations from the past 5 years in
Hmm.
Bitcoin and now you have a down year. It's like, well, boy, that's easy to weather because we saved our money in something that actually holds its value as opposed to something that's losing 8% every year. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, there is no more perfect solution to the problem of like of same with nonprofits. Same nonprofits sit on a ton of
Hmm.
cash and they always go out of business. They always go under when they have a down year or a down 2 years or whatever. And it's like there is such a great way to insulate yourself from that issue and buy you so much more time to extend your runway. And I actually just resigned from a nonprofit I was on the board of, and had just been harping year after year after year at a Bitcoin, big, and uh, you know, uh, people listened, but they didn't take it seriously. And then, sure enough, we had like the worst year ever in 2024, 20 or in it for all sorts of different reasons. But it's like, man, boy, I wish we had put a bunch of our balance sheet into Bitcoin. We had the opportunity of like 26K and like 52K, and it's like we basically would have just completely swallowed that entire year of loss if we had just put, a portion of our treasury into Bitcoin. And it's just like, so frustrating because the answer is right there for all of these places. And that is, what we're trying to get out there and hope people understand.
Right.
So,
It would be fun to try to take the Ben Justman approach. He's posted about how what he does now is he just encourages like friends or family, like, hey, if you buy just $100 of Bitcoin, I'll never mention it to you again.
yeah,
Like, if we could just somehow get
yeah,
our churches to literally be like, hey, I'll set up you a Bitcoin wallet for 1 month of my time. I'm going to put that into Bitcoin and you guys can hold it. And then you guys can look at it for the next year and figure out, like, oh, this actually works. And if you do that, I'll never talk to you about it again. I think that's actually
I,
such a
I,
great,
I have,
great strategy to use, both like for entities and for like friends and family and everything. Because I do
I've,
people do kind of find us annoying to a certain extent. I get that,
oh,
and we
sure.
have like
Yeah.
these people's best interest in mind. But there's kind of the balance of being like the orange pillar versus like the whole pendulum of like forget them versus I need to save everybody, and you kind of go back and forth and then end up somewhere in the middle. It's yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
That was a big part of my speech in Prague was, coming out, oh, I'm going to save the world. I have this great thing to now. It's like, just, I'm like, it's Satoshi. If I don't have the time, if you don't have the time, like, I'm not going to explain it to you.
Yeah,
But it's funny you mentioned that in terms of like, oh, just buy some Bitcoin and then I'll never bother you about it again. I've long thought we don't have the offering plate, but we have like the offering like bins or
yeah,
whatever. I've long thought of just dropping an open diamond
that's a
and like
genius.
putting my
It would get them
putting
asking.
like
Yeah, you
my
could leave a note and be like,
put my phone number on there.
right.
Yeah,
They'd be like, hey,
exactly.
why'd you give us a
Yeah,
USB stick? You know?
yeah. And what is this? And how do I do with this?
Exactly. That's
So,
that's an excellent idea,
yeah,
honestly. And or even doing something like the whole
yeah,
river. I don't know, like texting. You can text people a link, a river link, and it
yeah.
basically it's like a Bitcoin gift card, but it
Uh
somehow
huh.
sets up an account for them or something. There are a lot of solutions out there.
Well, they have to. Yeah, yeah. They have to set up an account to claim it, and then it's in their
Right.
account.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Something like that
yeah.
where I don't really, some people will be like, oh, my brothers and sisters are not stacking Bitcoin, so I need to stack Bitcoin for them instead. And I have certain portions set aside for that. Or if I this that's kind of cool and all, but you need to put on your gas mask before you help out other people. And that approach I think is kind of fun to think about, but at the end of the day, not super realistic. And if you actually game theory it out, it's kind of really weird. Like, okay, so in 20 years, you're just going to gift them this Bitcoin that you were saving for them, and if they don't understand it now and they still don't understand it then, they're going to somehow appreciate it for you. I guess not to poo poo that too hard, but there are a lot of other ways that you could go about that without just saying like, I'm gonna stack Bitcoin for those people. Um, but
Well, and it's the other thing too of there's a reason lottery winners blow all their money. It's because they didn't do the
yeah,
research, they weren't financially savvy, they don't know how to handle money. They've entered into a situation where they've been given a bunch of money, but they were never, prudent enough to deal with it. And it's to your point, it's like if you didn't get it at any point over the past 2 decades, like why are you going to be a prudent uh, steward of this Bitcoin
hmm
now? Like
hmm
you probably won't be. You'll probably lose the keys, or you'll probably sell it and buy like a bass boat, or whatever. Like you're probably not going to handle it appropriately.
on that same thread, not to change the subject too much, but personal finance in the Bitcoin space, I think is totally slept on and not really talked about as much as it should be. Like, but
It's
all the stuff that
atrocious.
Dave Ramsey, aside from his terrible Bitcoin takes and aside from some of his other advice, the budgeting advice, the living below your means, you'll hear people talk about it and you'll hear people say like live below your means. But I think we would be surprised on going back to like my whole rant on like leaving Bitcoin on the table. For almost 4 years, I was tracking every single cent that came in to our bank account using this site called YNAB. You need a budget. It's budgeting with money that you already have, and so it comes in and you're partitioning it out. You're not partitioning out like future paychecks that go on. Because we did that, we were able to stack so much Bitcoin. We were able to live super well below our means. We were able to say no to so many different things because it's not in the budget. The only reason I don't do that now is because it's impossible to do on a Bitcoin standard because my fiat balance shifts up and down so much day to day that it's impossible to do. But because we were on that budget for so long, our habits, our spending habits, literally are formed to those budgets now. So we still barely go out to eat. We still have almost zero subscriptions to things, and we still both drive 15-year-old cars. That that type of that type of mindset, I think, is abundantly important and something that should get talked about more in the Bitcoin space. We hear about Bitcoin treasury companies all the time. We hear about leveraging your Bitcoin, but what about just ways day to day that you can save money? It's even part of the reason for a while I only had one product offering with Great Ghee, which was a 100% grass fed offering, but it was super premium, pretty expensive, more expensive slightly than if you were to just buy 100% grass fed ghee from like Amazon or in the store. And I kind of figured out that I want to be able to offer products to both whales and to like really successful people that are Bitcoiners, but then also to guys that are just starting out. And maybe they're on the younger side. Maybe they just don't have that high of a paying job. They're not able to stack that many sats month to month, but they still want to save in Bitcoin and they still want to spend it, but they're trying to get good deals and they're trying to live a cost effective life. That's why I offer my regular pasture raised ghee offering. It's not 100% grass fed. The cows do get supplemented with the grains and kind of non grass food that's grown on the same farms locally in the Shenandoah Valley that they're on. But it's cheaper and it's more cost effective, and it allows you to still support the Bitcoin circular economy, still buy local, still support these local farms, but it's cost effective and it allows you to save more Bitcoin at the end of the day. Because I'm trying to get people that are holding the hardest money on earth to then let go of it for something that they're going to consume in a week or two or four. It's That's just like a concept that I love talking about because again, we're all like premium and super expensive products that are super high quality. I get that, but let's also try to make high quality products that are cost effective as well and that have certain trade-offs there that you're willing to accept so that you can save corn down the line.
Sure. I mean, to that effect, it's the same thing. Like you're infinitely better off going to the grocery store, going to Aldi, getting a chub pack of ground beef, cooking that up with some salt and pepper, and just eating it out of a bowl with like some avocado or tomato or something. than you are going to the highest end pizza joint with artisanal flour and uh, all locally like you're still better off just eating the chub pack of ground beef than like the highest quality ingredients of some giant carb
Mhm.
bomb that cost $52 because you added prosciutto to it or something. So like it, it's still a better trade-off, and like you're much better off getting a pasture raised thing of ghee as opposed to the grass fed than like some jug of Wesson vegetable oil and like cooking your food in that. So
That's
you know
exactly it. That's my mentality. And even going like you can get, so I've posted some charts on this, but you can get the most expensive, nicest, extra virgin organic olive oil, or you can do the same with avocado oil. And you would still be consuming more polyunsaturated fatty acids and more linoleic acid, and you would still be reaching a lower smoke point than you would if you were buying regular pasture raised, not 100% grass fed great ghee. And that's what I try to impress upon people a lot, that it, even though it's not 100% grass fed, we're all taught on Nostr and Bitcoin that like you want 100% grass fed only. And I totally endorse that. We, we try to get 100% grass fed as much as we can. But if you're consuming like the nicest avocado oil, the nicest, even to a certain extent, tallow, if you compare that to the regular pasture raised ghee, pasture raised ghee still comes out on top. It's that good. And then if you're getting the 100% grass fed, you're getting more vitamins and nutrients, but the core aspects of the PUFAs and the linoleic acid and the oxidation points aren't different between the 100% grass fed and the, which is pasture raised, and then the regular pasture raised. And like in stores, you're going to find for a lot of like health food items like beef, fats, etc., either 100% grass fed or grass fed, but there's no 100% there. That is a super deceptive marketing term that most of us are hip to, but most of the population is not hip to. I'm pretty sure they'll see grass fed and they'll be like, "Oh, that's great," But in reality, which we all kind of know, if it says grass fed, that can literally mean the cow like at one point in its life was let outside for 10 seconds to have literally one piece of grass, and it goes back into the factory farm it came from, just so that legally they can say it's grass fed, but it's still completely junk meat. I don't adhere. Yeah, it's a total
they do the
joke.
same thing with the free range chickens, right? It's like, well, we
Right,
let them
right.
outside
And
once, so now they're
so
free range. Yeah, yeah.
so because of that, it's just very deceptive on how they operate with that. And so I want instead to be able to just say both of them are pasture raised, which is true. The cows for the farms that we get our supplies from are all just raised on grass. It's that just uh, one of them, which I get my 100% grass fed from, is 100% grass fed A2A2 pasture raised milk. And all of the others are pasture raised, and then they're given varying amounts of supplemental corn or other kind of meal that they eat as well. Some of them it's like literally 1% of their diet. Others it's about 10, and so you get ranges in the color of the butter and everything. But it's just like kind of one little thing that I wanted to set myself apart with, advertising wise and marketing wise, to be able to kind of explain to people and be extremely transparent, open, and honest as well.
Well, listen, like three, maybe it was 4 years ago. I think it's 4 years ago now. We did our first whole beef, and like we we went from buying grocery store beef and everything to whole cow, and it was like you said, it was like pasture raised. It was on a farm, a local farm. We know the guy. He has less than 10 cows that he raises, but he occasionally feeds them some grain,
Mhm.
some corn, some other things, some oat or whatever, and even making that switch from like the grocery store was just an incredible upgrade right there. And so like the famous Bitcoin saying, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Like there's plenty of improvements you can make along the way that will put you in a better spot and will be better food and will get you more nutrients and will be better for your body, even if it's not the
Yeah, and I'm
absolute,
super pro
apex
local as
of
well.
what you
People
should be
often
eating.
tell me
So,
that they're getting kind of local fat or local whatever, and as or making their own ghee. And I'm so for it. Like, make your own ghee, get your own fat that you're getting from, get your own beef, and do that. You do not have to be a customer of mine. I'm not going to think of you any less. However, I guess if you're going to be eating local fat, I recommend ghee just because of the lowest linoleic acid content, PUFA, oxidation point, etc. It's just the best, and the scoreboard doesn't lie in that scenario. But ghee is a lot of ghee is a lot of work to be able to make, and so what I'm selling to people is that there's no sketchy sourcing. I'm doing the work for you, and you can kind of pay in Bitcoin. It's like a trifecta there of being able to do that.
well, I mean, this is the beauty of the division of labor. Like, same thing. We buy beef tallow. We get it from a farm that we know, and we've done all the vetting, all the research, and everything. And it's just like, yeah, I could make my own beef
Yeah.
tallow. I could make my own butter. I could press my own olives. My in laws, they have wine grapes in their garden. It's like, yeah, I could make my own wine,
Mhm.
or I could just hit up Ben and get a bottle from him, or I could let the milk sit in my fridge and skim off the cream and make the ghee, or I could just buy it from you. Like, there there's only so much time you have in your life, and that's the whole point of the division of labor, is to let someone else who's an expert in this field do it. And frankly, I actually don't trust the people who like do absolutely everything themselves. Like,
Right.
how are you don't you have other things to do? Like, you're just spending your entire day like trying to you're basically at the first level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, if you're doing all of this on your
No
own, like,
kidding.
you're, no offense, you're kind of like a Neanderthal. Like, yeah, you're not able to think about other things. I mean, are you even spending time with your family? Like, aside from actually the 45 minutes you're consuming the stuff you spent 8 weeks making, like, so I mean, that was a big breakthrough
Mhm.
for me in my life, because I would try to do everything myself, and it was like, what, like, is my time is worth something. My ability to have
Mhm. Mhm.
brain space to think about things, like, that's worth something. And so, uh, I would much rather buy this from you, knowing that you've sourced it well, you've done all the hard work of figuring out where the good ingredients come from, research of why it's important, smoke points, PUFAs, linoleic acid, and just outsource that to you, because that's a much better trade off for me and my time and
That's
energy,
exactly it.
than
And
trying to
there's
do
the
all
whole
this on my
aspect
own.
of being
So,
able to interact regularly with the people that you buy from as well. There's that whole web of trust and built reputation over time that you do not get with the random 100% grass-fed organic item that you see in your local Aldi. Like you said, you don't even get that to a certain extent with these companies online. That a kind of fascinating thing that I've discovered recently, both on interactions with companies that I've had in the past, and then just general research, is there's a subsection of Twitter that's basically like health Twitter, and you'll hear companies get mentioned. Actually, like one. So I'm not deriding this one, but it's in the same category. Paul Saladino's company, or one of his companies. There's Heart and Soil, and then there's Lineage Provisions. Lineage Provisions is kind of their meat products and creatine and stuff. And then a little snippet. I haven't said any of this on Nostr. I'm not going to do any sort of announcements about announcements, but I'll tell you on here. I'm working on something that is a low key competitor to Lineage Provisions. So that's coming soon. It's gonna be sweet.
all
I'm
right, well,
hoping to
I'll
drop
definitely
it
go to
kind
you.
of in the middle
Yeah,
of September, but I'm keeping it very close to the chest, and
yeah.
I'm about to send out beta tests to people now. But this is
That's why
true
people
alpha
come
right
to the
here that I'm
Bitcoin
not going to
Business
share anywhere
Podcast, for
else.
this
And I
kind of
guess if you
alpha.
hear
So,
this, please keep it to yourself.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
but
Yeah.
but anyways, there are a lot of companies that are
Yeah.
kind of in that space that are taking advantage of this health Twitter, the whole Maha movement, et cetera, which is awesome. But it's these people in like Miami or New York that are developers that are taking care of a bunch of the logistics and drop shipping in the background. And they're somehow getting connected with either like local farmers or local producers of X product and getting it out. And it's kind of it's not Lineage Provisions, I don't think is doing this. I've seen this firsthand, other companies that are doing this. It's not sketchy in the sense that like the products that they're selling are pretty simple, it can't be faked. But there's something to be said that, and I guess I'm a little biased here, but pretty much all of the other companies on Nostr and that are on Bitcoin standards are doing this. We are boots on the ground, living where we are making this stuff. Like Oshi is going to these pecan farms and getting the pecans from them, shaking their pecan farmers' hands. Ben is literally out in his vineyard getting these grapes, like soap miner. He is getting his local tallow to make the soap. I am going and shaking hands with now 4 different farms in my area. They're all like within 30 miles of where I live. That I think is just so abundantly important to have that reputation there for being able to sell, and it's such an X factor that you can take advantage of, both with like with me with the marketing, but then also you just buying the product as well. And and then you're able to support these farms as well, because me being where I'm at, sourcing this, producing this instead, I win because I'm profiting in Bitcoin terms. The farms win because I provide, you know how in Bitcoin mining, the whole thing of Bitcoin miners can provide base load energy for a grid. I'm being a base load customer from
Yeah.
these different farms for buying either cream that I turn into butter
Yeah.
or just the outright butter that I'm turning into ghee, which which is a blessing to them as well. And so all of these different aspects aligning, I think, provide such a great opportunity for everyone in that sense that you don't see elsewhere.
Uh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love all of the stuff I buy for this exact reason, because I know the person, I know they're out doing the work, and I know it's going to be a good product. So have you orange pilled any of the
Not
farms yet?
not
Did any
yet.
of them
It's
accept Bitcoin from you for their
like
wares?
so farmers are going to
Okay.
take a while. They're going to take a while. Actually, I kid you not. There's a big Mennonite population where I live, and Mennonites are very much like the Amish. There's kind of a spectrum with Mennonites. One of the Mennonite farms that I interact with, like, does not use electricity, doesn't have an email. I can only contact the farm via a landline phone. That's who we're working with here.
Yeah. But I think they are. Maybe I'm just completely making this up, but I thought like the Mennonites and Amish were kind of like precious
They're
metals,
based.
like
They're super
gold and
based,
silver type
and
folk.
they're based in that regard. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Bitcoin, I mean, Bitcoin is like absolute black magic to them. They think that like it is in another universe. They can hold the gold.
yeah. I know. Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
it is. But
We got to get them on
I'm
paper
also
wallets.
scheming in
Yeah,
my I love to scheme about certain ideas that I have,
yeah,
and I'm scheming on the fact of like a lot of these local farms, they're too focused on getting like their cows dialed in and where they're going to get their next Jersey cow from, and optimizing like the science of that, which I don't know the first thing about. They literally do not have the time to think about online sales, online marketing, distribution, saving their wealth in Bitcoin, etc. And so I'm wondering if I can somehow, well, I'm already doing that in a certain sense with being that baseload buyer, but I'm wondering if I can work with them as well, and to kind of get them set up technologically with like Bitcoin and with certain websites, because some of the farms I've
yeah.
found on these super obscure like raw milk, get raw milk websites, which are awesome actually. Uh, Calvadev on Nostr, he's working on milk.market, which is a which is a website that's actually for that. And there's a couple of others like getrawmilk.com. But others, I've had to just get contact information from these farmers that know other farmers in the area. And I would have never known they existed had I not gotten that contact information there. So all that being said, it's kind of a long haul with the Bitcoin. And my approach right now is to be like an awesome customer of theirs, to get a great reputation going, shake their hand. They know my name, I know theirs, and to then start talking to them about the money printing that's taking place. I even was talking with a farmer this morning. He was saying how everything changed kind of 2-3 years ago with expenses, and I'm like, yeah, the money printing, it's, you can't print cows, you can't print grass. And he's like, yup, yup, yup. And it's kind of planting those first initial seeds so that when I end up meeting him next month and month after that, you just kind of drip a little bit more. And maybe eventually I'll be like, have you heard of this like weird Bitcoin thing, this like magic internet money?
Yeah.
I'll kind of play dumb to a certain extent. And you just kind of gradually bring them in with these talking points.
I did a podcast recording with a company called Demian Media and their owner Boaz yesterday, and we were talking about
Mhm.
exactly this. Like, you might be someone's first touch point. Everyone's Bitcoin story is like three touch points, and then I finally got it, or some variation thereof. And it's like
Mhm.
you being that first touch point for someone can just be so important. So yeah, I mean that's my local rancher. I went through a whole cow already, and so we had to get another half a cow to hold us over until the next harvest. And I found him through the Beef
Mhm.
Initiative,
Mhm.
and those guys are doing the Lord's work too, by the way. And uh, yeah, he accepts
Literally.
Bitcoin, and I'm like, you will have a customer for life. Like, as long as I live anywhere within four
I got a
hours of
question
you,
related to that.
I
Was
will buy
your
from you forever.
rancher a Bitcoiner before the Beef
Yeah.
Initiative or no?
I don't know
Uh-huh.
the answer to that. That's a good question. I should ask him. I mean, I have a very good relationship with him. I found him on the Beef Initiative and went to his website. I was like, oh, this guy's not far. He's
Yeah.
100%
Love it.
regenerative farming, grass fed, grass finished, like hardcore. He's like, you come out and see the farm if you want. It's me, my wife, and my kid out here, and we mostly just do this to provide for ourselves, and then we, sell what's left over. And it just right on the website, he's like, I accept Bitcoin. And I just right away, I was like, so I found you through the Beef Initiative. I plan on paying you in Bitcoin. He's like, awesome. I'll send you an address and just send it to it. So, but I should find that out. I should ask, like, did Texas Slim reach out to him and orange pill him, or was
The
he orange
reason I
pilled and
asked
then kind of
thank you for
found his
that.
way
The
to
reason I ask
Texas
is
Slim?
because I was at the Beef Initiative presentation that they did in Nashville in 2024. And when
When they
they
ran
got to
out of
the end and
food?
they were
Yeah.
doing a Q&A, or maybe it was even after the presentation, I talked to one of the people, and I had expressed to them how my local farmer that we get like 90% of our beef from when he has beef available, which is also like 100% regenerative, grass fed, down the list. Me and another guy have tried to orange pill him, have tried to talk to him about Bitcoin, but he's kind of they're in the situation where they're well off enough that they kind of don't need to care about Bitcoin. And it's like, all right. But I asked the Beef Initiative, I'm like, do you guys have
Yeah, I know.
materials for
Yeah.
onboarding farmers? And it's a combination of like orange pilling the farmer, getting them onto the Beef Initiative, and actually onboarding them to be able to make online sales and to be able to have distribution nationally versus just locally at farmers markets, which is a huge learning curve that a lot of these farmers are not willing to go through, like kind of rightfully so. It's a lot of work to be able to set that up. And like, no offense to the Beef Initiative people, but they kind of looked at me sideways and didn't really have an answer for me, and it was kind of disappointing. And I think I mean, I don't know how you're connected. I'm not really connected with any of the Beef Initiative people, so I can't bring them to this directly. But if they were able to kind of have an initiative, like have a setup where they can take a farm from point A to point F of like orange pilling, online distribution, marketing, etc. That would be huge. And right now they don't really have that. It's mainly for like ranchers and farmers that are already online, that are already accepting Bitcoin to then join the Beef Initiative Network, which is great, but that's a
Yes.
tiny subset of the
Yeah.
farmers that are out there. Most of them are these like
Yeah.
boomers that are 60 years old that like just discovered the internet 5 years ago and got their first smartphone 3 years ago. They don't have like time or the energy to be able to look into this stuff, and they don't really care about marketing and growing their revenue in that sense. And a company like Beef Initiative could really benefit them in a lot of ways, kind of doing that aspect of it. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's like a pull strategy as opposed to a push strategy. Um, yeah, okay. I will
There's a
next
big
time I
need
talk
there.
to him, I
It's
will
just, I mean, I don't know if
that
you have a
for sure.
local farmers market in your area that you're able to go to, but we have a relatively popping one around here. And I'll kind of just get the sentiment from farmers that are in there, and it's just very slow
We have
moving
a
with
couple very good ones.
technology and even with social media and things like that. It's a lot of them are super happy with the very localized, very rudimentary setups that they have, and then so even getting them to kind of care about maybe growing their sales is one thing, but then even the ones that do want to kind of just get overwhelmed with the steps that they need to take, and they're like, forget it, I'm going to keep doing a bunch of word of mouth stuff, and there's a lot of opportunity there.
Well, I mean, that's
Yes.
honestly the whole reason Sovereign exists is because it's not just in the beef and ranching community, the farming community. It's every one of these businesses. So many of these business owners are just like, it's also overwhelming. I don't know what to do. And to your point, um, for me, I come from a business background. You said you got your MBA. I got my Fiat a double major in business degree as well. So and spent 19 years in middle market lending and everything. So I know that world very well, and so it lends a lot of credence to when I come in and start talking to business owners about these things. And to your point, having someone like the Beef Initiative who can speak the language of the rancher, speak the language of the farmer. And so at Sovereign, we have a bunch of people who come from the business world, who that's their background, and we resonate with business people. But there is legitimately a need for what we're doing for the business community in every one of these niches. And so, yeah, you may be running a business, but if you have an industry specific expert who can bring you up to speed on Bitcoin, talk to you, speak your language, talk to you why it's important. I mean, I always say I want there to be 1,000 sovereigns at the end of the day. Like there should be 1,000 companies like us out there doing that. And exactly what you're talking about, whether it's beef or machine shops or paper mills or whatever it is, like whatever your area of expertise and background is, like you can relate to these people, you can speak their language, you can help onboard them, and everyone should be, um, you know, looking
The
into
whole
seeing if
subject
there's a
matter
way
expert
to
part of it
weave that
is
into
is
what you're doing.
huge, and being able to even like on your team on Sovereign, I don't know how you would do this, and maybe it would just be like an AI thing of like dedicating one person to a certain blue collar industry and another to another blue collar industry. But being able to kind of talk their talk and understand where they're coming from is huge. Even like thinking about local, like you said, plumbing, HVAC. So many of these other guys. I mean, you can look at the stats and see that the average age of these companies in these certain industries is going up, and they want to provide for their families and this and that, and meeting them where it's at is abundantly important. At the same time, I did you ever read the book When Money Dies? Yeah. So it's we kind of talk
Yeah.
about the need.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Oh, actually, you know what? Sorry,
Okay,
that's the
it's a great
Weimar
book. I
one.
mean, we already kind of know what
I,
happens
I
there,
actually
but
I have not
the
read that.
narrative
Sorry.
and how it plays
Yes.
out is just
Yeah. Okay.
fascinating to kind of look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of the things was that even a lot of the farmers that were selling the pigs and the cows to people, they ended up super rich during the whole Weimar hyperinflation, even though it did not describe them as hoarding a bunch of gold. They just got super rich because literally the cows that they had became so valuable. And I do kind of wonder and game that out in my head
Hmm.
of like Bitcoin is super important for like W2 people and people that are on fixed salaries. It also is important for people that own their own businesses, but it's even a little bit less important for the people that are providing commodities. Whether it's through those services of being a plumber, like being a plumber in a lot of ways is a commodified kind of job or role because you can't really grow it on a tree. You have to be able to train for a certain number of years to become a plumber. But also with the farmers and the cows, like
Oh,
if we were to
yep.
experience hyperinflation tomorrow, the Bitcoiners would be fine. And the farmers that don't adopt Bitcoin will still kind of pretty much be fine because they still have the
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
or speaking of books, have you read The Mandibles? Okay. Well, you could end up in a Mandibles situation where you just get roving hordes of people that just pillage you, and it doesn't matter how many guns you
A
have
hundred
if you
percent.
get
Well, yeah,
15
that's
people
kind
come
of
clean
another
out your farm,
business or app idea
and
is
they're armed
having
too.
a
So
security team on an on call notice for certain businesses and even farms and stuff like that. A lot of people are kind of preppers in our area and everything. And I think it kind of depends on where you live to a certain extent. But yeah, no kidding about the hordes going from
yeah.
person to person. It's like you have to have a setup for that as well. So totally with
Well, you hang out with the Bitcoin veterans, so
a
maybe one of
technical on
them
the
can
back of
get
a
you like a
Toyota.
mounted 50
Yeah.
cal that you could like put at the edge of your yeah, exactly, or put at the edge
No,
of
no kidding.
your pasture or something like
It's
that.
the
So
whole like try that in a small town thing.
yeah,
It's being in Virginia is such a kind of a wild place as far as like there are so many different types of communities that you're at. And literally depending on the location that you are in the state, you'll get a different type of accent. I'm not from this area in Virginia, so I don't really have a southern accent. I'm from Northern Virginia, which is very like metropolitan, kind of, DC suburbs and this and that. But yeah, around here it's pretty country, it's pretty small town for the most part, and so you that get that environment, which I love, and yeah, people are kind of so friendly and everything. But yeah, like you said, Mandibles, Weimar, the whole transacting in Bitcoin and the use of Bitcoin as money is something that we try to impress upon them as well. And speaking of which, you probably heard about the news from Square and Block and being able to pay in Bitcoin at Square terminals
yeah, oh
without
yeah.
even the person running the terminal necessarily knowing that you're paying in Bitcoin. That opens up the biggest opportunity for Bitcoiners to go spend their Bitcoin at farmers markets because every single person at these farmers markets runs a Square terminal. And I get giddy thinking about that because that
Yep.
basically allows me to get 95% of my groceries with Bitcoin. That kind of changes the game that I think a lot of people are sleeping on. Um,
Oh, we're definitely not. I
yeah,
mean, I'm working on setting up a meeting with those guys so we can get like a tutorial and then just be able to walk into these businesses and be like, here, boom, let's get your POS here. You don't really have to know that much. Obviously, we want to understand how the back end works and if it's converted to fiat immediately or if you can choose to not convert it or what. But like, yeah, we're trying to get that like locked down now so we can just walk into bar, restaurant, whatever, and just be like, just put this in. Are you using Toast? Are you using something else? Or are you even using Square? Like just turn this
that is the
on and like just
disappointing
be able to go,
thing.
boom, now you're set
Yeah,
up.
when
Let's
they
roll.
released that, and then
Like
they were
we
talking
think
about
that's gonna be
using it
huge.
at
Yeah. Yeah.
Vegas, they didn't have a tutorial of how it looks like in the UI UX. I'm like, show me how it works.
I know. Yeah. Well, so yeah, I agree. I'm working on that, and I'm gonna try to get like our
Mhm.
whole team up to speed on that, so we can have that knowledge, and so we can be like, this is what it's gonna look
It,
like, this is what it's gonna feel like,
it's
and
gonna be huge. I really
I
hope
think it's gonna be
it
massive.
ends up
I couldn't
following
agree
through
more.
because we've been catfished a number of times with whatever company accepting Bitcoin and then it doesn't happen. But how I've
I
always
know.
envisioned it is that when this is rolled out to everybody, when you say I'm getting like a zucchini and a tomato and 6 pounds of beef, they kind of enter in those things, and then because oftentimes, and then you could say, I guess you would say I'm paying with Bitcoin, and then they enter a thing, and then I can hold my phone and I NFC, or they turn it around, you scan the QR code, or if at that point I can pay with NFC, or
I
they
think
turn
they
it
just, I
around.
mean, most of these
Yeah, and
places
then
just
and
turn
then
around and it's
in
like
that
you
case
choose
where
how you
it
want to
says
pay.
like
So
cash, credit,
yeah,
and then there'll just be another box, Bitcoin. You select that, QR code
right,
comes up and you scan it. Just like Square Pay is
Bitcoin,
like another. I've never
exactly.
used Square Pay, but
Yeah,
it's that type of thing. That's what I'm hoping for, is that it's just a thing that
right.
turns around, because maybe
Yeah,
I don't even want these people to know I'm paying Bitcoin. Like, it's if they want to accept fiat, that's fine. Whatever. If they want to receive fiat at the end of the day,
right.
like that's like one thing, and then I'll let Sovereign take care of them being able to hold Bitcoin. But for me, I just want to be able to spend Bitcoin and stuff, and maybe not have you know about it. And so, I just get giddy about that. Holding
Well,
it
they'll
like,
probably figure it out
close to
when you're
trying to
like
get it to
trying to
work and stuff.
scan a QR code like this, and yeah. You have
Yeah. Right.
credit card in one hand, like
Yeah, like some
pretending to
ops back
tap,
there.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
uh, you don't know what I'm doing over here. Yeah,
Uh huh. Uh
yeah.
huh.
Trying to throw you off the scent here. Um. All right. Well, I got a
Yeah.
couple more questions for you about the business, and then maybe wrap here. I got to go pick my son up from the in-laws. So, um, what percentage
hundred
of your
percent. Because I don't
customers
have
would
I
you
don't
say
accept fiat
are
right
is
now.
paying in Bitcoin right now? Oh,
Are you
it's
serious? Really?
oh you don't. Oh, well, on your website it's got a fiat option, or it says dollars.
Oh,
It
oh, okay,
says
okay, okay.
$42
So actually,
slash
yes. So like a tiny tangent there.
38,834 cents.
Oh well, yeah, the
But if
the
you go to
Sats price
checkout, it's
fluctuates.
only
So for a while, I was priced in Sats, accepting Bitcoin only. But that was getting super frustrating because Bitcoin is super volatile still, and my input costs are all in fiat. And I'm like, I am so tired of having to constantly adjust the Sats price up or down, because if I'm keeping it fixed and Bitcoin rips or Bitcoin dumps, either I'm getting screwed as the seller or you're getting screwed as the buyer, and one of us is getting ripped off at the end of the day. And I ended up kind of just getting frustrated with that, and I'm like, you know what? I'm
yeah.
gonna principally, I'm okay with pricing in dollars. And if somebody wants to come attack me for that, they can go for it. It's fine. But I decided to price everything in dollars, have the Sats amount be fluctuate based on the Bitcoin price and what it's at priced at. But right now, I only accept Lightning or Bitcoin for the payment. So it'll just vary, and you'll pay more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I mean, some of the purity test
Yeah,
folks
go
out
run a
there,
business and
the
see
purity
like
test
how,
people
how
annoy
that kind
me
of works out for you and
very much.
stuff. It's
So have a family and enjoy your life. Like that's great. You sleep on the floor and have nothing.
live your life and
Awesome.
spend your
That
Bitcoin
sounds
where it
like the
makes
worst
sense.
existence to me ever. So,
I'm totally
I would
for that.
rather.
And even
Yes,
on the lines
exactly.
of Bitcoin and
So
fiat and accepting them,
yes.
I think once I work a few other things out, I am probably going to start accepting fiat, with the caveat that I am going to charge a 21% premium for accepting fiat. That's copying average Gary. He accepts fiat and Bitcoin for his Freedom Tech products that he sells, and he charges like a 20% premium, which he's let me know people still pay that. And it's like, oh my gosh, you'd rather pay a 20% premium for fiat versus spending Bitcoin. It's like, if people are willing to
Lunacy.
do it, I'll take it. And I'm just going to instantly convert it to Bitcoin.
We have
I don't even think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. I don't plan on holding the fiat. So it's something I'm working out, because I do recognize there are a lot of people that just haven't gotten to Bitcoin as a medium of exchange yet. That's fine. You want to spend fiat, you still want to support me, like, go for it. But I'm going to punish you for it a little bit.
That's what we do. I mean, we have a 10% discount if you
Mhm.
pay us in Bitcoin and a 3% premium if you pay in fiat. So, or a
Punishment.
3% punishment tax, yeah,
Exactly.
if you will. So, well, I mean,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have to pay the processing fees, so yeah, it just gets us even. So, and or so you could save
Yeah.
yourself
No, but for now,
13% by
100%
putting your
Bitcoin.
credit card
And
away
actually,
and
in
paying Bitcoin.
93% Lightning,
Yeah,
7%
yeah,
Bitcoin on chain. For those people that are saying Lightning's dead, it's not. Yeah.
yeah. Well, you also have like the perfect price point for Lightning too. So like the sort of like more than $5, under
Yeah.
$100 is like the perfect like
Yeah. And
Lightning
even actually, like a tiny little
and
tangent
I have
there,
found
people like
personally.
kind of
So
try to poo poo
yeah,
Lightning and spending Bitcoin and this and that. It's like, oh, how are you going to say sats and this and that, whatever. I'm watching Squid Games now, and it's like kind of fun to watch. But the prices in the country that they're in, I forget it's if it's Korean or Korea or Japan. They're all in thousands, and it literally sounds like they're saying sats
yeah,
prices for things. They're
Korea,
saying like a dinner is
Korea.
20,000 in their currency. I'm like, this is sats. This is
Yeah,
it. It's the same thing. Like this is no. If we were pricing things in
yeah,
sat, we say it's twenty
yeah.
thousand, 5,000, 15,000. It sounds the same at the end of the day. It's really not that hard. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, go to Mexico, go to South America. I mean, like
Yeah.
it's the same thing. I mean, it's just 20 times whatever we're
Yeah,
paying,
you just
and
round up
it's
or
like
round down
you
because
just get
nothing is
used to it and
perfectly like
adjust.
15,000
So
sats, but you round up and you round
yeah,
down. Like if I'm selling in person at a meetup,
yeah.
which I just did, I'm rounding down to the nearest like thousand. I'm just selling it to be. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Truncating, they call that. That's the math term. Yeah, yeah. Well, Patrick, I'm sure we could definitely keep rolling here, but
No problem. This was
I
awesome.
unfortunately do have to go grab my son. So, um, yeah, thank you for joining us. I didn't even like get into all the Ghee talk versus tell. Actually, you know
Lightning
what?
round.
Screw it. I got a few more minutes. So, okay,
Yep,
make your pitch. Make your pitch. I mean, we're a big
that's
tallow
all right.
family here. I'm not gonna lie. I'll out myself. Cook pretty much everything in beef tallow, and we do some grass fed butter, but it's for like eggs and stuff. But 95% of our food is cooked in tallow. So, what's the
So
pitch
the
here
pitch for
for
Ghee
why
in
ghee
like
is
under three
superior to
minutes, right?
tallow?
It's somewhat splitting hairs, but over the course of years, it actually does add up. The numbers off the top of my head are for tallow, you're looking at 3 to 4% for linoleic acid content, or the percentage of the fat that's linoleic acid in it. For ghee, you're looking at 1 to 2%. So if you're zooming in on that amount, there's a pretty significant difference still between the linoleic acid in those. And linoleic acid, it's just really bad for you, and you want to minimize the amount of it that you're consuming. It's kind of what makes people fat. Arguably, it's what gives people diabetes. Um, Lasers posted a chart before that you'll see. It's like the amount of sugar intake in the society and the rates of obesity. And right after like 1971, sugar consumption in America actually starts going down, but obesity keeps rising, which is kind of the PD argument that sugar isn't necessarily the problem. But we can have that debate in a future. I know.
Yeah, I got beef with that chart. It's
Well,
because we substituted all of our sugar for corn syrup. So that's why the line keeps going like this is we shrunk our sugar consumption, but we
we gotta have
increased
that
our
debate
corn
soon.
syrup
But
consumption, and then it just
the
matched the
argument
line.
there
And also,
Yeah, the
yeah, yeah,
argument there
and
is it's the
and all sorts of
linoleic
other
acid
terrible
that's
stuff.
in
But yeah,
the seed oils that everybody is
yeah,
consuming. And with seed oils, linoleic acid is through the roof.
yeah,
Anyways, so
and
to the tallow, that's one thing. Lower linoleic acid. The other, smoke point. Tallow
yeah,
is around like 375 to maybe 400, 415, depending on like the specific tallow that you're buying. So it's medium to high heat. Ghee, it's 445 degrees plus that you're able to heat it up to. Same thing. It comes down to fat oxidation. The more the fat oxidizes, the more inflammation it causes in your body. You want to reduce that amount. Ghee wins there too. Finally, and this is kind of a wild card thing. I think ghee goes with a lot more foods than tallow. you can, if you're kind of making if you're having like carbs and it's a special occasion, you want to have some awesome sourdough pancakes, some sourdough discard pancakes, for instance, you can cook that in ghee and it tastes amazing. I wouldn't cook them in tallow though. Like tallow with some pancakes would taste kind of nasty.
No, I agree. All breakfast foods agree. But I mean, we
Exactly.
use
Butter is
butter,
fine,
but
but you
obviously ghee
still,
is
because of the
clarified
milk
butter, and
fats that are in,
it's
or
even
sorry,
better.
because of the
Yeah,
milk
yeah,
whey that's in the
yeah.
butter, it's going to be still oxidizing and
Right.
smoking way sooner than you would have with the ghee. So I pretty much nowadays for butter,
Oh
we're
yeah.
spreading it
Yep.
on some sourdough, and that's really it. We're not really cooking with it a whole lot. It's the ghee and it's the coconut oil
Yeah.
occasionally if it's like a lower if it's a lower heat. But that's my quick argument for ghee versus tallow. Oh, go ahead.
That's actually what that's on the rare occasions we do make pancakes. We do like almond flour
Oh yeah.
pancakes, and we'll put like fresh berries in them and that sort of thing. Um, but
Yep.
that's
Yep.
what my wife likes to cook those in the coconut oil.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
yeah, they come out great. I mean, I probably yeah, and it's crazy too because it is almond flour. It's like so filling. It's
Hmm.
insane.
Hmm.
You eat like one and a half of those things, and you're like, oh my gosh, just ate like 4 bags of almonds basically. So. Yeah. All right, awesome. Okay, good. I'm glad we
For
at
sure.
least got to the actual discussion of your product here. So, where can people find you? Nostr, the website's great. Ghee, for people that don't know, it's GHEE, not like the thing the judo people wear. .com. And you're also at Great Ghee on Nostr
No,
as
I'm
well.
just
Anywhere
Nostr
else you
and
would
my
like
website for
people to
now.
check you out?
So Great Ghee on anywhere you search.
Awesome. Love to hear it. I also am Nostr only personally. Plebe Anon, Sovereign. We have all the Fiat accounts. Other than TikTok and Instagram, we don't mess around with either of those or Snapchat. I have people still use that. I don't know. And we are we're hosting 2 of the panels at BTC in DC coming up at the end of September. That's the September 30th and October 1st. You can use the promo code Sovereign with an E, so not the way we're spelled, like the actual English word Sovereign, for a 10% discount. And then I will be speaking at a panel at the Bitcoin for Financial Advisors out at the Space in Denver on October 16th through the 18th. Come check that one out. Super cool. There's a day of golf and then 2 days of speaking, and there's a bourbon tasting, and which is the only reason I agreed to speak was because of the bourbon tasting. So definitely come check that out. That's code Sovereign, the way that our company is actually spelled. That's 10% off. As always, thank you for
Thank you,
listening to the
Brendan.
Bitcoin Business Podcast, and we'll catch you next time.